Hi, guys. Welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm seeing you guys signing in. So I was trying to give you a little bit of time and then trying to decompress myself. But I see a few of you on here. So I'm just going to jump in, okay? I'm going to start with introducing this topic. It looks like everything is okay on my end except for Instagram. So while I wait for others to sign in, let me deal with Instagram really quickly here. Uh-oh. And then we're going to just jump in. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview like I do typically on these topics at the beginning of the live chats. I'm going to give you an overview of what this topic is. But let me figure out what is going on with Instagram. Okay, so let me go on Instagram. Give me 1 second, guys. Sometimes I don't know what it is with Instagram. Sometimes it just acts up, and it's like no matter what I do, it just doesn't cooperate. So I am moving some things around. It also gives you guys some time to sign on too. Okay. It looks like, come on, Instagram, you can do it. There we go. All right, I'm going to type a message on Instagram just to welcome them. I'm just going to say hello, everyone, for a community experience. Visit my channel. Okay, this topic, guys, oh boy. So first I had this live chat titled as Closed Doors, 15 emotional outcomes of living with toxic family secrets. Then I thought about it a little bit more and I thought, you know what? I better change this title. And I changed it to Dangerous Doors, 15 outcomes of living with toxic family secrets. The reason I changed the title is because when you have secrecy, hidden trauma, lies, deception at the core of a family dynamic, the doors are not just closed, they're dangerous. And sometimes if you go up to that closed door that's been closed in your family for centuries, years, generations, just because you're seeking truth, just because you want truth, just because you want to understand what's going on in your family in terms of trauma. If you go up to that door and knock and try to open it, you may get a ton of family members either coming against you, trying to minimize your legitimacy within your own family, right? Making it look like you're the problem, the troublemaker, the major challenge, right? They may exaggerate the role that they've put you in, right? So you're the black sheep, the scapegoat, the triangulator, whatever they want to call you. Or you may actually lose contact with your family members and there may be some estrangement because of the simple fact that you want to know what's going on at the core of your family. We all have family issues, right? We all have family challenges. A family, I always say this, a family is a dynamic. It's like a busy city, right, guys? And everybody operates on their own volition, on their own motivations, how they think and feel about life and their own behaviors and other people in their lives. So we all operate almost like a very busy city. Think of New York City, for example. It's like cars everywhere and traffic and people talking and running. It's all that hustle and bustle of New York City, right? And families are very much like that. Everybody's doing their own thing. They've got their own patterns and motivations and energies and connections, and the list goes on, right? So because family is like a busy city, like New York City, for example, even California is very busy and over the top most of the time. You have a family that's like that. It's hard to get to the core of what's going on. It's hard to dig underneath to the lower bottom underground to see where the family trauma started, to see why the family is so I don't want to say dissected, but maybe the word I'm looking for is separated or segregated. I'll use that word. If you want to just get to the core of what is wrong within your family and why your family relationships are so complex, you may open up a Pandora's box, and that's going to be really difficult. Let me just say here that research in psychology suggests that family secrets are more common than we think. It's, typically at the core of dysfunctional family engagement, right? There's anger, there's hostility, there's resentment, there's jealousy, there's favoritism, there's the black sheep and the scapegoat, there's the hero in families, there's the troublemaker, the manipulator, the triangulator. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Most of these challenges are the result of generations upon generations of challenges. And believe it or not, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, there's also a secrecy about the ways in which your family operates, And so I'm going to get into that tonight for you. Just what is the secrecy? What happens when there's family secrets at the core of all of our dynamics? What types of secrets makes a family dysfunctional and problematic? And then I'm going to highlight for you what you may have seen in your own family and what that actually means. So we're going to get into that. Let me also say, before I go to the chat box and welcome you guys, that dangerous and toxic family secrets, they tend to hinder open and honest communication. Can you imagine trying to exist in a family? There's a lot of secrets at the core of your family, but nobody talks about it. Sometimes there may be hints, but somebody in the family doesn't want to go into it. Somebody gets upset because you asked a question. Somebody gets offended because you made a statement, right? Dangerous and toxic secrets within a family hinders open and honest communication. There may also be various motivations for keeping the secret, right? Maybe it's an ego thing. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe it's something that's legal and embarrassing or shameful. The list goes on. We're going to get into that tonight as well. But a lot of people have within their own families different motivations for holding secrets and keeping secrets. Let me also dissect briefly before I go to the chat box. Let me dissect what psychology says are the most common secrets within I'm not going to call it a dangerous family. Let me change that. A toxic and dysfunctional family. We'll call it that. Psychology says that there is individual secrets, and that's a secret that's held by one person within the family. They may be embarrassed or ashamed or uncertain about how that secret is going to affect them by sharing it, but also affect the family. So there's individual secrets. Psychology also says there's what we call internal secrets. So that's number 2. Internal secrets are secrets within a family that's held by 2 people, 2 or more people, mainly 2 people. And it could be an alliance. An alliance is we share something in common. And that's what's keeping us like this. That's what's keeping us tight, is that we share something in common. We have the same belief system. We have the same energy. We have the same needs, desires, problems, traumas, motivations, right? An alliance. Well, internal secrets within a family, a dysfunctional and toxic family at that, could be an alliance, okay? There may also be within the internal family secrets within the dysfunctional family, there can also be something that we call split loyalty. I have loyalty to the person who just shared the secret with me, but I also have loyalty to the other person not to hurt them. So what loyalty do I uphold here? Do I uphold the person who told me the secret, or do I be loyal to the one that the secret is about? How do I manage that? So internal family secrets tends to have that split loyalty. It's hard to decipher. How do I be honest here? Do I need to be honest? Do I ask questions? Can I ask questions? Do I not? There's this whole mental process. We'll get into that. And then lastly, in this category, shared family secrets. So we've got individual, internal, and now shared family secrets. Shared family secrets, guys, is kind of what we're talking about more so tonight, which is the forbidden taboo secrets, right? Dad had an affair. Mom spent all the life savings. Someone sexually violated me as a child. I was abused. I endured sexual assault. you know those are taboo, forbidden secrets that are often held within a family. Let me also say too, in the shared family secrets, it can be mental illness. It can be a severe mental illness that everybody in that family is holding a secret, because it's too scary to say Aunt Susu over there has schizophrenia. She believes things are happening that really are not happening. She lies all the time. She sees and hears things that's not there, and she believes that she is married to Joe Biden. Okay, this is just an example. Shared family secrets can encompass schizophrenia, delusional beliefs, hallucinations, being incarcerated for many years. Everybody in the family knows that Kevin's older brother sexually violated him, but the extended family doesn't know, just the immediate family. So these are shared family secrets. These kind of secrets can change your entire life, right? Individual secrets can be a burden because you're holding something that you need to get off of your shoulders, get off your heart, get off your back, right? Secrets, in a way, uses up a lot of cognitive and emotional energy. It uses up a lot of cognitive and emotional energy, just holding a secret, right? And so all of that fuel that you're burning by keeping the secret, the individual secret, the family secret, the internal secret, whatever secret you're holding, it takes up a lot of energy. And so it's exhausting, right? Shared family secrets are even more exhausting because shared family secrets are taboo. They are forbidden. They're only shared between maybe 4 family members, 5 family members, a group of family members. Not everybody in the family knows. Those kind of shared family secrets can drain the life out of you, right? Imagine, walking in on your father having an affair with your mother's sister. What do you do there? Do you run to your mom and tell your mom? It's probably going to devastate her. Do you address your dad, or do you not humiliate him in front of the woman that he's having an affair with, right? Do you stop what's going on, or do you not, right? Do you hold that secret? It becomes an individual secret at that point. Do you hold that secret and carry that burden? Or do you approach your father? This is an example. Do you approach your father and just only the two of you know about this secret, right? Or do you end up telling grandma, grandpap, you and dad talk about it, and then eventually your mom? That's a shared family secret. So it gets complicated and it burns a lot of energy. So we're going to get into that. Okay, guys, let me go to the chat box. Let me see what you guys are saying. I'm going to welcome you as well. Hi, Barb Pacelam. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Didn't see you yesterday, so glad to see you tonight. Bryn Parr, hello and welcome. Glad you're back tonight. I also see Longevity Rituals. Yeah, you're welcome. And thanks so much for coming back tonight. Glad to see you. Also Live Life. Hello and welcome. I also see Nancy R. Welcome back to the chat. AC, first time joining. Yeah, I'm so glad to have you tonight. And I always love when you guys are like, I'm so excited. That means that these are topics that hit home, So welcome. Glad to have you. Welcome to the channel as well, by the way. Allison Kerr, hello, welcome. Glad to see you tonight. Napalm, hello, welcome. AC has a question. And I will address this at a later time. I don't want to interrupt the chat talking about scheduling, all that stuff. So feel free to send me an email. My email is in the description box, excuse me. And I'm happy to answer those questions. Okay, a seat at the King's Table with Tanisha. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much. Hope your day is going well as well. Glad to see you tonight. Jessica J, hello and welcome. And Dawn 1, I see you. Hello, welcome. Glad to see you back. I am looking for comments. Whoa, there's a lot of you on here tonight. Commander Bastide, I think that's it. Hello, welcome. Glad to have you. The Retro Woman 80, hello, welcome. Yes, I'm so glad. Good for you. Working can be beneficial to a certain extent, but I don't know any adult, the retro woman Annie, I don't know any adult who likes to work. So being home, relaxing, finally, that's awesome. Good for you. Tammy Nicely, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Live Life. Oh, thank you so much, Live Life. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. Ellie Wen, hello and welcome. Welcome. Okay, I'm looking for comments, guys. Danielle Young. Yes, glad you caught this one as well. Welcome back. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. B or Belle, hello, welcome. I saw you the other day. I'm like, man, I miss B. So sorry. Sometimes I don't see you guys. See all of you in the chat box because there's so many of you. Nezareth Bemient or Bemient. I messed that one up. Hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. She goes on to say both individuals and families are fragmented through intergenerational trauma and dysfunction. Yeah, so okay, there we go. Look like my camera is kind of off focus. Intergenerational trauma. Let me kind of expound on this a little bit. Intergenerational trauma, family trauma, makes family secrets really difficult because there may be a secret at the core of your family that has been kept for many generations. How do you, as maybe a younger part of the generations, how do you go back and try to get the truth, right? Because consider this example. Let's say your great grandmother, right, was extraordinarily abusive to her daughter, who then became abusive to her daughter, who then became abusive to your father, who is now abusing you. There's a family secret at the core of your dad's upbringing, his mother's upbringing, and your grandmother's upbringing, and your great grandmother's upbringing. So there's a lot of secrets. Okay, so the secrets stem back for generations. I'll put it that way. So let's say that's happening within your family. How do you, as a millennial, for example, I don't think any of us are millennials on here, or are we? I don't know. I don't know if I am. We're young. Okay. And we want answers to the secret. How do you go back and get the truth? Because sometimes the truth, sometimes the lie or the secret or the deception that goes all the way back to the beginning of time in your family, it's been perpetuated, and that can create a distorted reality in some generations. The secret can change over time. People can add or detract from the secret. Like, how do you get the natural, concrete, unmanipulated form of that secret addressed? How do you address that if it's been a secret for many, many generations, right? It's often hard to go back and get the absolute truth of that secret. So a lot of times, if that made any sense, a lot of times family members either go along with the secret or the deception because they don't know where to get the truth, or they just pretend to forget. I know my brother's real dad is my uncle, but we're just going to forget that because I don't know who's telling me what. I don't know the truth. So we're just going to act like that never happened. I know you guys know that happens within families. So just to your comment about intergenerational trauma and dysfunction, it complicates the whole entire picture. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for that. Dark Feria. Hello, I probably messed it up. I apologize. Hello and welcome. Thank you for that. And you're welcome. That's so nice. Thank you. Starburst, welcome back tonight. I hope this conversation is going to be helpful. Jessica J says family secrets are shared with some people in the family while other members are kept in the dark. 100% Jessica. 100% Jessica J. We would consider that a shared family secret. A shared family secret, once again, is there's only a few of us who know what's going on, but we're going to keep out certain individuals because we either don't want to be embarrassed or shamed. We don't want to be blamed or held accountable, or we're going to leave that other person out of the mix because it's a lot easier to do that. You know, shared family secrets can be really evil, by the way. We'll get into that a little bit. Napalm 1334 says, my life story. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have family secrets as well. My family, stemming back from many generations, there's been secrets about who custody, who's birth parent, who's the birth parent, who isn't the birth parent, race, culture, ethnicity. There are family secrets in my previous generation, so don't feel bad. I think we all have them, but some people have them a little bit more prevalent, and sometimes they're a little bit more dysfunctional than in other families. We're going to get to that as well. Sunkiss Diva 01, hello, welcome. Glad to have you back. I haven't seen you for a while. Eccentric, I had to do it. I really did. Welcome to the live chat. You know, there's some people who really do believe that. You never know. I was trying to add some humor, honestly, Eccentric. That's what I was trying to do. Ellie Wynn says, my toxic, pathologically secretive family. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that in just a second here. A seat at the King's table with Tanisha says, Tamara dealt with split loyalty thing myself, and I told the family member the secret because it was very serious. And now the person who told me the secret has been distant from I'm going to say from me ever since. 100%. The reason why secrets are so difficult and traumatic in families, for most families, is because of that, the split loyalty. Who should I be loyal to? The person who tells you the secret is binding you, whether that's intentionally or not. They're kind of causing a bind that kind of surrounds you, right? Because once the secret is told to you, now you're going to be wondering in the back of your mind, if it hasn't already been discussed, do I share this secret? Can I share this secret? When can I share this secret? What's the rules of this secret? Has this been a secret that can destroy my family and I need to talk about it? What if I talk about the secret and everybody turns on me? Am I now the torch holder? How do I manage this, right? So the traumatic component of family secrets and dark family secrets is that you don't always know the rules surrounding it. And so that puts you in a bind, right? It puts you in a bad bind. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's very depressing because you don't always know how to get out of it. We're going to get into that in just a second. Let me welcome just a few more people. We're going to get into the content. Kev Dower, hello and welcome. Glad to see you back tonight. DD, hello and welcome back tonight. Glad to see you. HSR 1986, hello and welcome. Ellie Wynn says fuel and cognitive drainage. That's a very good point to make. We call it cognitive load. Cognitive load. We're actually going to jump into the content on that one. We call it cognitive load. Those of us who study psychology and family secrets, dangerous family secrets, cognitive load is basically another way of saying that the secret, whatever secret it is, it could be a family secret, a personal secret, or an internal secret where nobody on the outside knows about the secret, it's just the family. Whatever the secret may be, it causes a cognitive load because what the secret does is make you feel burdened. It's tedious, it's tiring to hold a lie. It's tedious and tiring to hold a secret or to be deceptive, right? And so it causes cognitive overload. I'll put it that way. It's very hard to manage that, especially when the secret within your family may have been held for many, many generations, you know? Now, what happens to you? Let me see if I don't want to mispronounce the screen name. A seat at the King's table with Tanisha. This is probably going to be most beneficial to you on here. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Let's jump into what happens to you if you have a secret that you're kind of holding within the family, or you're aware of a secret that you're kind of holding within the family. One thing that psychology highlights is we as human beings and family members, we want to be able to share an experience, right? And if somebody in the family tells you a lie or tells you something we can title deceptive, or somebody in the family is telling you a secret, or you found something out, the first thing that you want to do is kind of pass the buck. You want to say, here's the secret, we need to talk about this, or let's pull the what do they say, guys, the wool off of the person's eyes, right? Let's remove the barriers, the defenses. Let's remove all of that. Let's talk about this secret, because this matters within the family dynamic. We want to be able to share that experience, but it's not always possible. So psychology says that if you are holding a secret, or you know of a family secret, you are likely going to experience an unshared reality. And that's a burden, right? You have this reality that's sitting in your lap, and yet you're afraid to make a move with the details you have, the information you have, or maybe the secret has been revealed, but now there's consequences because of that secret being revealed. So because the family is secretive and doesn't talk about emotions, doesn't talk about feelings, doesn't talk about family toxicity, you now are experiencing an unshared reality. You know, the burden is now on you and you alone. So that's what psychology says. Psychology also highlights that there's an isolation and detachment. You have a secret, you know of a secret, you're holding something back, or somebody's holding something back from you, and you know nothing about it. There's isolation and emotional detachment that happens. I once had a family like this. 4 years ago, I was treating a family that had a dad who was very delusional. Mom was the breadwinner and the healthy one psychologically in the family. They had one daughter. Dad was having an affair during his work hours. He would take his lunch break and go eat dinner with, or lunch with, or, go hang out with a woman that he met on his job. That case was pretty complicated for me, because here's what happened. His daughter ended up suspecting that he was having an affair on the family. She didn't want to tell her mom that she had suspicions, so she had an individual lie, or an individual secret. I'll put it that way. Individual secret. And the secret was, I think Dad's having an affair. She followed him one day to work, and that's when her truth became available to her. She saw him with the other woman. She approached her dad. Dad, I know you're having an affair. I saw her the other day. She was dressed in A, B, and C. Dad gets on his knees, cries, and this is all according to them. They came in to see me for therapy. Dad gets on his knees, cries. He says, please, we cannot tell your mom. So now his daughter is burdened with an internal secret, and it's an internal secret that is held between she and her dad. But she feels like she's isolated and detached from her mom because she's holding this secret from her mom. There's also the split loyalty piece where she's loyal to her mom. She doesn't want to hurt her mom with this information, but she's also loyal to her father. She doesn't want to hurt him either, right? By telling on him. So now she's in the middle, and she's got this internal lie secret between she and her father. Now, eventually, after so many sessions, Dad finally confessed to his wife, I'm having an affair. Our daughter has known for so many months. I just didn't want to tell you. So now the secret, I won't call it a lie, but it's a secret. Now the secret has become a shared family secret. And it is now, as of today, still a taboo topic within their family. Yes, they have therapy. Yes, they came to my office and talked about it and worked through it. This is just an example for you guys. But even though they've been in therapy, it's a taboo, forbidden topic. And so they never bring it up. Now there's a new baby in the family. Mom decided to have another baby. And so he knows nothing about it. And so Mom and Dad have vowed not to ever talk about the affair ever again. So there's that secret. It's buried, so to speak, but it's going to come back eventually at some point. These kind of toxic, dangerous lies do come back at some point. And everybody's feelings are hurt, typically, and there's internalized anger and resentment. So these lies or secrets never stay hidden. They end up coming back out into the open at some point. Okay. Psychology also says that you harm the next generation when there's a family secret that is perpetuated, a family secret that's being held hush hush, don't say anything. Those kind of family secrets can harm many generations. If there's an individual, for example, in the family who has sexually violated you, and your brother tells you don't ever talk about this ever again, that's going to harm future generations, right? Because your children is going to be exposed to your whoever sexually violated you within that family, right? And their children, and the list goes on. So family secrets, family deceptions, they can harm future generations. Psychology also says that there's often an internal conflict that you may experience. There's a secret within the family. You may experience, do I say something and risk being silenced, or do I keep quiet and act like nothing's ever happened, right? Should I pretend to forget, or should I continue by not asking any further questions about this thing that bothers me, right? So psychology says that you can experience some kind of internal conflict. Now, before I go back to the chat box and see what you guys are saying, let me give you the types of family lies that can disrupt your family. Research in psychology suggests that there are 3 most important experiences that you may have that you may not even know that you are having, which is taboo topics, okay? You may be in the middle of a taboo situation, or in a family where there's a taboo secret. You can't say anything about it, or nobody's going to tell you about it. So you kind of lose trust. There may also be rule violations that people in your family are keeping a secret from you or from other people. A rule violation would be something like, the boundary has been crossed between Uncle Joe over there and Niecy. Uncle Joe was caught touching inappropriately Niecy, and so there was a rule violation there, but we're not going to talk about it. We're going to act like it just didn't happen. We're going to silence it and act like it doesn't even exist. Okay. And then conventional secrets, and those are secrets like, that is your dad. And then you hit 20 and they say, your family members say, I'm so sorry to tell you this, that's really not your dad. Right. I once had a family like this. Daughter thought that her dad was one person for 20 years, found out when she turned 40, wasn't even her father. He was mom's boyfriend since she was 2, but she grew up believing that was her biological father. Those are conventional secrets, typical secrets that's difficult to deal with. Okay, before I go further into this, guys, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Go to the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Indigo Sass, hello, welcome. Glad to see you back tonight. Hello, She Prays. It has been a while. Welcome back. So glad to see you tonight. Glad to see you. Nancy R says, I was shamed for being sexually abused from age 9. Never allowed to tell anyone. Yes, there's that taboo topic that I'm talking about. That's taboo within a family. She goes on to say, my parents could never love or protect me. It has changed me. Absolutely. It does change you. And I'm sorry to hear that, Nancy. It does change you. When you have been, for example, sexually violated within a family context, it becomes a shared family secret. Everybody in the family knows except for extended family, or just you and your parents know and nobody else knows. When sexual abuse or assault becomes a family shared secret, it becomes a toxic and dysfunctional family secret, because you never get a chance to really talk about it. You're never validated. You're never loved through it. So it's almost like trauma that's being pushed down and internalized, and that's not healthy. That's not healthy. A seat at the king's table with Tanisha says, one of the burdens, this is a fantastic comment. One of the burdens in keeping family secrets is you become the co-conspirator in the secret. Yes, you do. That's an internal secret. 2 people hold that secret. So yes, you do become a co-conspirator. Absolutely. That's fantastic. That was a great comment. Nellie, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Sun and Sunflowers, glad to see you back. Welcome, welcome. Priscilla, glad to see you. Welcome. And thank you so much for that. I felt like tonight's chat topic Certainly wouldn't be as popular as most of the other ones, but I still think it's important to touch on family secrets. You'll see why next week. But thank you so much for that. I'm glad they are helpful. Don One says, my mother's husband cheated on her throughout their relationship. It was very toxic. Yep. Yeah. And, just like a seat at the king's table with Tanisha, just like she said, you become a co-conspirator. You do in the family secret, and when affairs or cheating or something like that is going on, the first thing you want to do is run and tell, let's say, your mom, dad is doing this atrocious thing. And you can't do that because now you have to try to balance. If I tell my mom this, she's going to be hurt. But if I don't say anything, she's still going to be hurt. How do I balance this? And so it puts you in limbo. One Mecca Armor. Hello, welcome back. So glad to see you in tonight's live chat again. Says happy Saturday. Yeah, happy Saturday to you too. HSR 1986 says trying to pinpoint family secrets that impacted you can be very difficult. Yes, it can. Like finding a needle in a haystack. Sometimes it requires finding circumstantial evidence. Yes, it does. Oh, that's so good. That you want to trade seats, guys, because you guys are saying some really good stuff. I agree. Like I said earlier, sometimes family secrets can be so generational that over time, the secret has been skewed and changed and altered so that by the time it gets to you, it's skewed. It's not 100% the truth. There's been things added. There's been things, not spoken of. It can be a very difficult dynamic to be in. Indeed. Ellie Wen says, good question, Tamara. How do you go back and get the truth? Well, sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. You can sometimes use not ancestry.com because, there's some issues there when it comes to DNA and family connections, but they may be a useful tool at some point. But you can actually go and pull up some of your ancestry data. You can look at different forms of census or statistical reports. You can also go back in time and, look at the roster of slaves or look at a roster of generations. I can actually post some links in the description box for you guys if you're interested in that kind of data. That way you can kind of explore. But the only real way to go back is to find an elderly family member that can give you some information. My great grandmother on my grandma's side and on my father's side held secrets. And before they passed, before my grandmother and my grandfather passed, I was able to get some details about, ethnicity and culture and race in my family. And, but other than that, it can be really difficult to go back, Ellie Wen, and get that data. Again, you could try to use ancestry search engines and census bureaus and all kind of stuff like that, but it's going to be complicated. It is. I'm just going to be honest and say it's going to be complicated. You want that elderly family member who's sitting on secrets. Sometimes they'll divulge the information and sometimes they won't. HSR 1986 says, that was a great question, by the way, Ellie Wen. HSR 1986 says, I found evidence of domestic violence in old courthouse. There you go. There's another way to look up things. Old courthouse divorce documents. I started putting some pieces together. Absolutely. There you go. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes. One Mecca Armor says, yes, cannot believe how much so many are okay not knowing the truth and living in true reality. My therapist always said, if you make it in therapy, you are rare. People don't like exposure. That's so very true. And what a wise thing that your therapist said, because I very much agree with that. Most people don't like exposure. No, you're right. Ellie Wen says, love me some dark psychology lessons. Yeah. I love dark psychology too, which is why I keep bringing it back to the channel. Yeah. Thank you for letting me know that. With hiding, okay, Nancy R says, with hiding the secrets, it seems like no one really knew me. Absolutely. You can't be known. When you're in a family where there's secrecy, there's lies, there's deception, how do you really know that anything you've been told, anything anybody has shared with you is the truth, right? It's really difficult. I once had a client whose father, she thought it was her father. It wasn't her father, it was her uncle. So her mother, imagine this, her mother had an affair with her. How am I putting this? Okay, it's so confusing. The mother married the father, but the mother had an affair with the father's brother. That makes sense, guys? So the child's father was not the husband, but rather the uncle. And so that complex dynamic went on for literally 25 years. And it wasn't until she hit 50 that she was able to, once her mom passed and her uncle passed, she was able to go through the documents that she found in her garage, and she found her birth certificate that had her father's name on it. Everything started to be connected, and she came to session completely broken in half because for 25 years she thought that her uncle was actually her father. And so, she didn't have an identity. She didn't know how to look at her life anymore. She also didn't know how to piece together the broken pieces of her heart and her life. So you're very much right about that, Nancy R. It's a very difficult dynamic. Sylvia Love Jones, hello and welcome. Happy Saturday to you. Welcome back. Glad to see you. Dee Dee says, Tamara, I think all of your topics looked at my past generations and family as a study. Oh, that's hilarious. I wouldn't be surprised. There's more coming. So we've got some more family research to do, Dee Dee. Don't leave just yet. Eccentric says, love it. We need a little humor in all of this heavy stuff. Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Okay, last comment before we go back to the content. Anne of Hearts, hello and welcome back tonight. Always glad to see you as well. Says, thank you for helping hold on to my truths. Yeah, you're welcome. I love that. That's so good. I love that. All right, guys. Let's get back into the content. All right. Let me give you some types of lies and secrets and taboo topics that are often hidden within families. This is backed by psychology. You can go to the description box and see some of those articles on types of family secrets. But the most common family secret, according to research, that is often at the core of a dysfunctional family and can be considered a dangerous secret is what we call loss event secrets. Loss event secrets. Death, divorce, illness, right? A stillborn birth, any kind of experience of loss is a loss event secret. You may not have known that your mother gave birth to a stillborn child. You may think that you and your brother are the only siblings. That's not true. You may not know that your grandparents divorced back when you were 5, but they're living together, but they've been divorced for 25 years, 30 years, whatever. So research in psychology says that there's a lot of loss event secrets within a family. Something has been lost, something has been broken, something has been torn apart, something has been dismantled, and the secret remains a secret within the family. There may be some family members who know, but for the most part, it's a secret, and it's a shameful secret, which is why it is kept hush hush. Psychology also highlights what we call shame-ridden secrets. Are also another kind of secret that your family may hold. Shame-ridden events or secrets, which would be severe mental illnesses, right? Aunt Susu has schizophrenia. She talks to herself. She sees or hears things that are not there. She was caught nude in the community, right? Those are shame-ridden secrets. Another shame-ridden secret would be something like incarceration for 20 years, for 30 years, for 15 years, 10 years. Sexual molestation or abuse, assault or rape. Those are also shame-ridden secrets that are commonly hidden within a family. Sexuality is also another thing that tends to be hidden, according to research. I'm trying to think of something else, and it just escaped me. Darn, right when I was going to say it. Shame, it'll come back to me. Shame-ridden secrets tend to be those taboo topics that families just kind of hold within, they internalize, and they say, nope, we're not going to talk about it. Even though you and your brother know that this has happened, don't you ever bring it up ever again. You know, you may also be threatened in some ways. Don't tell this family secret or you will lose your inheritance. You know, I've heard of that in sessions as well. And sometimes I sit in sessions where there are parents who are forcing their adult children not to tell of a secret within the family, and they hold something over them, like, you're going to lose the family inheritance, you're going to lose my support, you're going to lose my financial support. The list goes on. So those are shame-ridden secrets. Mental health, mental illness that's severe, incarceration, sexuality. There's also abuse, maltreatment, and domestic violence that tends to be common in terms of family secrets, right? Mom may never let you know that she was beat every single day by dad. You always thought they had a great marriage. No, that's not true. He's been physically, sexually, and emotionally abusive to your mom. You know, somebody mentioned the other day, the Jackson family. I forgot what I was talking about. And it was literally just, I think, last week. I don't remember. But somebody mentioned the Jackson 5 and said, this kind of reminds me of the Jacksons. Well, the Jackson family had a lot of secrets and some taboo and hush-hush topics, So when you think of abuse, maltreatment, domestic violence, or shame-ridden secrets, think of the Jackson 5 family. I'm sure there's other families out there that do the same thing. There's also economic secrets. I want to mention that before I tell you how this all impacts you and your family. But there's economic secrets as well. Dad lost the business. Mom had to file bankruptcy. We've always been in poverty. Aunt Susu over there has been on welfare and child support for years. I have bad credit that has been perpetuated down to my children and then their children. We don't know how to spend money. We've blown money. Economic secrets. So psychology says that these tend to be very common secrets within a family that disrupts the foundation. The lost secrets, something has been lost. Shame-ridden secrets, right? Shameful events that have happened you don't want to talk about. Abuse, maltreatment, and domestic violence, and then economic secrets. So these are very common secrets within a dysfunctional family. It's hard to get the truth out of family members when they're holding these kind of secrets, right? And they can have a traumatic impact on you. Let me just make sure I throw that in there as well. Complex PTSD can be the result of living in a family where nobody talks. Everybody keeps things hush-hush. Don't say anything. Don't talk about it. Don't share your emotions. Don't cry about it. Don't get upset about it. Act like it never happened. Right? Pretend that you don't know anything. That is not healthy. And I know a lot of you on here tonight probably know that because you've experienced it, I'm sure. But yes, complex PTSD can be the result of these kind of secrets. So what does psychology say is one of the things that impacts you? What impacts you in this toxic, dysfunctional dynamic? Well, psychology highlights something known as thought suppression. Thought suppression. It's pretending that you don't know something. It's pretending that there's no family secrets. It's pretending that everybody is loyal, everybody is honest, everybody is equal. We are a loving family, or we're a family that never, ever, ever talks about the things that happens. We're going to act like nothing happened. We're going to go through the pain. We're going to go through the family estrangement. We're going to go through split loyalty. We're going to go through the shame, but we're going to act like it never happened when it's all over. So you may experience thought suppression. It's almost like your family says, let's suppress the thoughts that's associated with this secret. Let's not ever bring it back up. As a matter of fact, it doesn't exist at all. So let's suppress it. And so in a sense, you're being asked to pretend that nothing's wrong. And so psychology, says that this can be very problematic. You're also in a family dynamic like this, you're likely to hold shame, guilt, and anxiety. Shame, guilt, and anxiety. And that can lead to what we call an emotional burden, right? You know there's something wrong at the core of your family, but you just can't get to it, or you can't talk about it, you can't explore it, you can't bring it up, or you don't have all the data to piece things together, right? So you experience shame, guilt, and anxiety. And together we can consider that an emotional burden. There may also be something known as a motivational conflict. A motivational conflict. Psychology says that this is when you are motivated to tell of the secret, right? Or you're motivated to find out more about it, but then you're also motivated on the other side to keep it a secret, because if you find out information or you force somebody to tell you about it, it's going to disrupt the dynamic of the family, right? Or the climate of the family, how the family functions. So there may be a motivational conflict according to psychology. Should I tell it or should I not? There's the motivational conflict. I feel motivated to keep it a secret or just leave it alone. But then I also feel motivated to learn more about it because it impacts this family and it impacts me. So there's a motivational conflict. There may also be within your family what's called a cross-generational enmeshment that perpetuates these secrets and deception within a family. Cross-generational enmeshment. Grandma is enmeshed with the granddaughter. They're so close and so codependent that there are secrets between the two of them. There's a shared reality that nobody else has access to. And so that can harm you in the end, right? Because you can't get into the middle of grandma and the grandchild because it's cross-generational enmeshment. They are almost too close. They're enmeshed. Families like this also experience family estrangement, right? You know there's something wrong at the core of your family, but nobody's going to talk about it. And even when the family fights, there is traumatic incidents that happens, arguments, confrontations, blow-ups, the list goes on. Whatever's going on in the family, you eventually get tired and you want to go no contact, or you don't want to deal with the family, or you walk away, or you close the door. So research in psychology says family estrangement, is one of the things that families in this situation experience. For you, you may experience what's called rumination and obsessive thoughts, meaning you might ruminate about this constantly. I know there's something going on in my family and I just don't know where to find the information. That's one thing you may think about over and over and over. Or you may think to yourself, my brother won't tell me what happened to me when I was a child. I don't remember anything, but he won't help me. He tells me it's too traumatic and he's not going to bring it up. And you may think about that over and over and over, right? Maybe you walked in on mom having an affair and you having to keep that secret from your dad. You may think about that incident over and over and over, right? So rumination and obsession. There may also be what we call a morbid preoccupation with the family secret or the lie or the deception, meaning that is intrusive. Those things pop in your mind throughout the day. You know, you may get this, I'll put it this way, this internal motivation to find the truth once and for all. Okay. And maybe in an obsessive way, like I'm going to find the truth if it kills me kind of mentality. Some people go through that. You may experience self-blame and doubt. You know, this family wouldn't have fallen apart if I hadn't brought up that secret. That's an example. There may be an incorrect belief system in your family. Our family's going to fall apart if we talk about the lie, if we talk about the deception, if we talk about the pain, if we talk about the secret, my family's going to fall apart, right? Or everybody's going to come against me. That's something else that you can experience. There may also be what we call a confused boundary between you and your family, right? Where, you know, you want to keep this private because you don't want to shake everything, but at the same time, you need to know the truth because the lie hurts too much, you know, or the secret hurts too much. You may notice what we call deprived social support. You can't have the support that you need if everybody in the family is remaining hush hush. right? Nobody's talking, nobody's communicating, nobody's connecting, and so you kind of, there's this deprived support, social support. You don't have anybody to really lean on to help you conceptualize or manage or deal with this family secret or this family trauma, because nobody talks, nobody opens up, everybody keeps things a secret, right? I know you guys have had some kind of experience like that within your own family. Okay, before I go to the other ones, let me take a little bit of a brief break and go to the chat box. I feel like I need a break. And then I'm going to jump back in, give you the next couple things you may experience within your family, and then we can wrap up. Let me welcome Keisha, Monique. Hello, welcome. Glad to see you back in tonight's live chat. Fairy Girl, hello. Much respect to you, and thank you for that. Glad to see you back. I didn't see you the other day. That's awesome. Ellie Wynn, you have the greatest questions tonight. Ellie Wynn says, what is the role of this secret? Well, let me kind of pull from that a little bit, Ellie Wynn. You may find that within your family dynamic, the role of a secret is to either keep you out of the loop. So let's say your brother has a secret that he holds with his mom, your mom, right? So your brother and your mom have a secret together. They have a shared secret, but they keep you out of the loop because they don't want you to feel included. So that could be the goal of a secret. Another goal of a secret within the family is that it's just too painful to talk about, to reveal, right? To kind of peel back the layers of that secret. So that can also be a role of a secret, to prevent the family from needing to actually uncover the secret, talk about it, accept it, embrace it, that whole thing. Okay. JDK Merit Master Group, hello and welcome tonight. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Odetta, hello. Happy Saturday to you. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much, Nancy. She corrected me. Wool over your eyes. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Sharifa, hello. She says millennial here. What's millennial age? I feel so like out of touch asking that. That's like what, 30s? I think. I would think. I don't know. It's Google time. That's what it is. She Prays says, there have been family secrets about my grandpa and I. My grandpa and I have been gaslit my entire life, and I'm 52. My mom and the 3 aunts refuse to budge. They are tight-lipped. I feel like an outsider. Absolutely. That is what you're going to feel. You're going to feel like an outsider. Earlier, I talked about an unshared reality. You can't have a shared reality if family members are keeping a secret from you, right? So you're kind of all alone in that reality because they refuse to open the box and talk about it with you. That can be very devastating. Absolutely. It's like, you may start to ask yourself, why can't you just talk to me? Why are we still hiding? Why are we tight-lipped? I'm a grown adult. I need to know the truth. I like what you go on and say by saying family secrets are evil. Yes, they can be. They can be. Consider the situation, for example, and I've done therapy with families like this in the past. Consider the example of dad sexually violating your sibling. Mom keeps that a secret. And even though you saw dad one night creeping into your bedroom, tiptoeing into your bedroom to get to your sibling, the climate of the family, the way that the family operates is nobody talks. So even though you saw dad, you're never going to get up the next day and tell mom, because the language within your family is don't talk. Don't speak a word, right? So family secrets can be evil. They have a way of transforming how you see reality as well. And basically that's because of the climate of the family. If the family has developed this unspoken rule that everybody has to keep quiet. Nobody talks about the things that are taboo. Nobody's going to tell the truth or tell on anybody because we're going to act like it doesn't exist. If that's the energy of the family, you know you're not going to ever get the truth because that's not how the family functions. Anne of Heart says, Tamara, I've experienced someone who lied about the secret, only given a portion so that you can't even make sense enough to help. And it's all just a cover up. Yeah, sometimes that is true. I'm glad you brought that up. Sometimes that is true. I'll give you half of the truth. I won't give you all the truth. At least I'm giving you half of the truth. You have to figure the rest out. I agree with that. Odetta says, there is always an elephant in the room with my small family. Lots of trauma experienced, had to go no contact with 2 older sisters. They have not dealt with their trauma. I am dealing with mine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Secrets are a really good way of avoiding having to deal with your trauma. I'm just going to avoid my trauma 100% by acting like this never happened. And nobody else in this family better mention it. Some people are like that. Okay. Sharifa says, I told my aunt mother's sister a secret. Let me go back over that. I told my aunt mother's sister a secret. I haven't heard from her since. And that was 3 years ago. Wow. Maybe she couldn't take it. Some family members just strictly cannot take the truth. It's too much. So what do? They push you out of their lives. They minimize the truth you've told them. They gaslight you. Oh, that's not really what happened. Oh, it couldn't have really happened that way. Since when does that ever happen in this family? No, I think you misinterpreted, right? So you're going to be gaslit. There's a variety of tactics that tends to happen in a family where there's dark secrets. Sunkiss Diva 01 says, I was waking up screaming from bad nightmares after I went no contact with gross family secrets. My left side would grow numb. Wow. Once I blew the whistle, no more waking up yelling in my sleep. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. That is so traumatic. It sounds like your heart and your mind just wanted you to unload, right? Cognitive load is what happens to the brain when you're holding a secret, you know of a secret, or you know there's some dark things in your family that you can't get to. You can develop cognitive load. It zaps your mind of its ability to function. It is a burden to know that these things are happening within your family. AC says, I've cut off my family as a result of them wanting me to keep these secrets. While I'm not dying to share anything, it's not my duty to protect them while sacrificing myself and what I know to be true. Absolutely. That was so elegant. Elegantly or eloquently said. I'll put it that way. Thank you for saying that. Okay, just looking for one more comment before I go back to the content so we can wrap up. I'm going to say 504 Impress. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you tonight. Says, I kept the abuse I suffered at the hands of my mother a secret. When I finally told family, they turned on me for talking about it. Yeah, that can happen as well. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's painful to know that if you share something like abuse with a family member, it's sad to observe with your own eyes that a family member, I'll put it that way, that a family member has decided to either minimize you, deny it ever happened, ignore, or create an even bigger problem. It's easier to just turn on you than it is to accept that this is really something that has happened in the family. The attitude is almost like, I'm not going to address that you were abused. I am going to create a new problem, which is a distraction from the truth. The new problem is we need to get you out of our lives because you're talking about things we don't want to talk about. It happens a lot in families. I hate to say it. Okay, let me give you the final content, guys. I'll go back to the chat box and then we're going to wrap up tonight. I think where we left off was a deprived, you kind of experienced this deprived social group. You don't have the social group that you need, or the family group that you need to support you, because now you have to stay quiet, or there's a secret that's at the core of all the dysfunction within the family. You can't say anything so you don't have support. I think I also mentioned cognitive load and cognitive overload. So the next one after that would be perpetuation of the problem. If there's a secret within the family that is dark, that is grim, that is traumatic, right, that is problematic, and you know that it's there, but nobody wants to address the issue, then what does that tell you about what your family wants you to do? That's telling you, I want you to also keep this a secret. Let's continue to perpetuate the trauma that's attached to this secret, because we don't want to address it right now. So psychology says that there is often a perpetuation of the secret in families where there's dark, dysfunctional secrets. It perpetuates throughout generations. You may also have a loss of respect. A loss of respect, not only from the person who maybe has told you about the secret, but maybe also from the family members or the person that you are openly communicating with, right? So let's say you do divulge some truth. You have a family secret, you divulge some truth, right? You may find after you do that they lose respect for you, or that somewhere you lose legitimacy within your family. It's almost like you get turned on, right? For bringing it up, wanting to know about it, divulging of the truth yourself, whatever the situation may be. Let me also mention here that this is a challenging one, and I'm trying to bring it up in a way that doesn't open a new box that I need to explain. But there may also be what we call complete family estrangement. And I did a video on family estrangement, I think 2 years ago. I'll post it in the description box for you. But there is complete family estrangement that can happen, meaning that if there's this deep, dark secret within your family, nobody wants to talk about it, you can definitely get pushed out of the family to a point where you then say, you know what, why should I even try to get back in good graces with my family? Why should I even force myself into the middle of my family? I'm going to just say, you know what, I'm done, I'm walking away. So complete family estrangement can happen where there is absolutely no contact. There's absolutely no emails, no phone calls, no text messages, no visiting on the holidays. You just absolutely, completely walk away, because you can't deal with the continual deception, the lies, the secrets, and the trauma that goes along with the lies and the secrets. Okay, I think I gave you guys everything. Finally, I feel for the past 2 days on here, I feel like I've just been rambling. Oh my God, tell me what you guys think. If I sound like I'm rambling, I really do apologize for that. Let me say, before I go back to the chat box so we can wrap up, guys, let me just say that family secrets can be dangerous secrets. Research in psychology says that most dysfunctional, toxic families with PTSD, complex PTSD, and trauma, there's often at the core of their existence some kind of deception, some kind of lie, some kind of dangerous or dark secret. And if you have people in your family who have personality disorders, narcissism, sociopathy, some kind of avoidant personality disorder, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, those are personality disorders where family secrets tends to be at the core of their problem. Most individuals who are, how do I want to put this? Most individuals who have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and who also experienced a traumatic childhood have emerged from a family of toxic and dark secrets. It's at the core of most individuals who have borderline personality disorder. The individual with BPD has emerged from a family, according to some research, that thrives off of secrecy, that thrives on keeping things hush-hush, quiet, and may even thrive on lies, right? I just want to make sure I've given you guys everything in this category. I think I have. Let me go back to the chat box, see what you guys are saying briefly, and then we're going to wrap up. You're very welcome, She Prays. You're welcome. I like welcoming you guys because it maintains the communication between us, right? I'm not just talking at you, you're a part of the conversation. So I'm glad to hear that. Jeremy Robinson, hello and welcome. Glad to have you back in tonight's live chat. Says an abusive spouse can be a secret as well. Like if your dad or stepdad is abusive to you, your sibling, and your mom. Absolutely, that's another toxic dark secret. I'm glad you brought that up, Jeremy. I think I may have mentioned that briefly in passing. That the types of abuse that is often kept quiet within a family is domestic violence and maltreatment, as well as sexual abuse. Those are typically the hush hush topics, you know. And believe it or not, and I've seen this over the years of my profession, believe it or not, there's some people within the family dynamic that just doesn't want to reveal that they're being abused in the marriage, that they're being abused in their dating relationship, in their long-term relationship, because admitting abuse can sometimes feel like a weakness. Admitting abuse can sometimes tell somebody else that they were right about that person all along. There's many different motivations for keeping things hush hush. Napalm 1334 says, yeah, that's how my life was with disclosure. I was shamed and blamed with their anger. Yep, absolutely. Liv, hello, welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Okay, just looking for final comments. Phoenix, hello and welcome. Glad to see you tonight. Glad to see you. 504 Impress says, when I showed a video of the abuse I was receiving, family members tried to discredit me by saying I probably did something to deserve it. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That is a common thing. That's a common thing. You know, a family can't take the truth. What do? They minimize, they gaslight, right? They refuse to talk to you. They push you out of the family dynamic. You become estranged. They do whatever it takes sometimes just to ignore the truth. Elizabeth Pepper, hello and welcome, welcome, welcome. Haven't seen you for a little while. Glad to see you. Says sexual abuse is common in religious families. They're more loyal to the family name than the members. Funny, since pride is a deadly sin. Wow. I don't want to generalize and say sexual abuse is common in religious families. I don't know of any research that backs that theory up, but I can say this. In terms of Catholicism, yes, there have been previous studies and articles written and charges filed on children being molested by some of the priests within the Catholic Church. There is also within other Christian denominations, there's abuse in those families or Christian congregations. Religion doesn't separate the sexual abuse, the lies, the trauma from the rest of society. They are just as problematic as the rest of society. You know, you hate to say that, right? Hey, just looking for comments here. Belle says, it's crazy how silent some can be when it comes to secrets, but when it comes to gaslighting, the scapegoat and spreading lies about the person you're keeping secrets from to keep others focus off them. I think I see what you're saying. Did I read that wrong? I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's easier for them to spread lies than it is to just address the secret. It's easier to talk about others to keep the light off of them. Yes, agree. Agree. Elizabeth Pepper says, I asked a family member about an investigation when I was 3 of sexual abuse. They played stupid to avoid answering and told me not to live in the past. Yeah, sometimes it will happen like that. I'm sorry that happened to you. I had a client one time, same thing. You know, sister violated her brother and continued to violate her younger brother for 12 years. And they came to me for psychotherapy. Unfortunately, the brother is struggling with addiction, struggling with trauma, struggling with fear, loneliness, the list goes on, because she abused him for 12 years straight. And anytime he tries to bring up that abuse with his parents, they shut him down. Let's not go back there. What his father will do, and I've seen this from time to time in sessions with this family, what the dad will do is say something like, oh, let's not bring that up. You know how it affects the family, and that's something he says all the time. You know how it affects the family. Let's not bring that up. And what does that do? It silences you. Silences you. Right? It sends an indirect message. I don't care to hear from you right now. Let me just point this out because this is wise. Child protection records are an option too. You can pull child protective records from Child Protective Services. You just have to know the year, right, and the date that the investigation was conducted. Sometimes they can pull some of the files. That's a good one. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Looking for comments. There's so many of them. I have to decide. Do I want to bring this one up? Do I not? Sharifa says, I started my truth-seeking journey in 2020. Still on it, but I'm better for it. Good for you. Good for you. That's awesome. Uh-oh. Whoops. Hit the wrong button. Nancy R says, told my daughter about you, Tamara. Hope she joins you. You're so needed out here. Oh, thank you so much, Nancy. That's so sweet. That's so sweet. That's so awesome. JKD Merit Master Group says, to anybody listening, I read this one for a reason. To anybody listening, if somebody says they love you, they'll want the best for you always, 100%. They won't want to see you stressed. Very true. Toxic positivity aside, they should be there in stoic fashion. They should be. I like that comment. Bree, I haven't seen you in a while. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you back. Says, I hate family secrets. They hurt so much. I found out something my mom has held secret for so long and I feel betrayed. Absolutely. It is easy to feel betrayed. That's why there is the possibility of developing complex PTSD. If you've experienced trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma and another trauma, and then on top of the trauma is a family secret or a lie or a hush-hush topic, right? It is possible that you can develop complex PTSD over time. Bree, so I agree with you. Family secrets do hurt. Yes, they do. And for more than one reason. Fairy Girl says, respect to those digging out those rotten bits. I almost said rotten roots. We could also say that, Fairy Girl. That's a good one. Okay. Danny Betha Brema. I probably messed that up. Hello and welcome. And thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you were able to join us tonight live. That's so awesome. 504 Impress says, my family is upset and jealous of me because I don't have any secrets they can hold over me and manipulate me with. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Keep in mind that family secrets that are dark, dangerous, taboo, dysfunctional, traumatic, those secrets are a part of a dynamic. And if you don't play according to the dynamic, right, you're going to get ousted or silenced or minimized, or something is going to happen to you because you're not playing along with the rules of the family. That's the sad part. Okay, gonna wrap up here in just a little bit, a couple minutes. Liv says, oh my God, the gaslighting is the biggest thing. Yes, it is. Yep, you didn't hear that. That's not really what happened. Why do you think that's the truth? Why do you choose to believe that? Right? Comment after comment after comment. Gaslighting is huge when it comes to family secrets. Liberty Can, hello and welcome. Glad to have you back tonight. I saw you the other day and I'm like, darn, I forgot to welcome him. Just know, guys, I see you Okay, I see you. I see how many of you are on. I see your comments. I want to answer them all. Just know I see you. Okay. And when I come back and rewatch these, I go through all of your comments. So know I hear you. I do. I may not be able to get to all of you, but I hear you and I see you. Liberty Can says, in a very religious family, are underwear preference and sexual fetishes secrets or privacy? Ah, okay. I get your question. It would depend on the extent of it, Liberty Can. It would depend on the extent of it. Sorry guys, my camera is going out of focus. It would depend on the extent of it. I'm not sure I can give you that answer. Right? Some of it is private, and some of it isn't. It would depend on the extent of it. I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. Okay, let me keep going, guys, so we can wrap up. Tarika Styles, glad to see you back tonight. Welcome, welcome. Sunkiss Diva01 says, I learned why I was the scapegoat and my older and younger sibling were the golden ones. They were not my biological siblings. While my father was fighting in the war when she shouldn't have been. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let me also add in here before I look at a few more comments and sign off, guys, tonight. Let me also add in here that family secrets that family members may not believe or that impactful can be traumatic. I once had a family where there was a secret that mom was in the army when she was really incarcerated. Mom has been in the army for 12 years. Okay. And that's what dad told his children. Mom is in the army. No, mom was incarcerated for selling drugs, but he didn't want to tell his daughters that. So he decided to give them a positive perception of mom rather than the truth. And that only came back to bite them, because when they finally realized that mom was incarcerated, they couldn't understand, why hasn't she called us? Why hasn't mom sent us anything for Christmas and holidays and birthdays and special occasions, right? Why is it that mom didn't return from the army in her uniform? They had a ton of questions, and the fear and the anger and the anxiety just became foundational to their identity. And it was because dad thought telling them that mom was in the army was going to make a lot more sense than telling them that she was incarcerated. I think it's better to just say mom's incarcerated and leave it at that, So even lies like that can be very harmful. And then what happens is there's a culture of lies that builds within the family, and now everybody is lying, right? And maybe you're a part of that, and maybe you're not, but everybody in that dynamic at some point is dishonest, because there's been a dishonest foundation that has been built. And that's another scary part of this whole thing. Aqua Earth in Fire. Oh God, I can't pronounce the rest of that. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Yes, asking me how to take care of this. Okay, that's a whole other live chat. I may bring that to the channel soon. Okay, I see Holy Spiritual SW33 Heart. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Just saying hello before I sign off here. Jen Woke, hello and welcome, says, that what I am going through now. Confronted my mom, but as expected, she just ignored me. Yep. Don't expect to get answers. If there's family secrets, right? You don't want to expect that if you bring it up, you're going to get the truth. It's a lie, or a secret, and it's going to remain that. You may not always get what you're looking for. Ellie Wen, you're welcome. You're welcome. So glad about that. Thank you so much for that. One more comment before we go, guys. Sunshine wanted to say hello to you before I signed off. Says, thank you so much, Tamara. I married into an enmeshed family. You're welcome, by the way. I married into an enmeshed family system. Your channel has been life-saving for me. I can break cycles now that I didn't know break cycles now that I didn't know existed due to denial. I thought I messed that up. No, it's correct. That is wonderful, and thank you so much for that. I'm so happy that this has been very helpful. Guys, let's sign off here. These kind of things are difficult, and let me just be honest with you and say that when I was doing the research on this live chat tonight, I couldn't find too many topics about secrecy in families because my field is so behind, and I don't think we do enough research on these topics, so I will bring them back. Stay tuned for next week. We have the Psychology of series continuing. I think you guys are going to love next week, so stay tuned for that. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday and Sunday. I'll see you guys in the next live chat. Bye-bye.